Hello and welcome to Simplify TV, the web series and podcast for agencies, brands, marketers, and media buyers. I'm David McBee. Our guest today is Shannon Allen, Chief Revenue Officer of Federated Digital Solutions. Shannon has been in the marketing and advertising industry for over 25 years. Her passion for digital marketing drives her to help find the best digital solutions for her company and clients. Shannon works as a true marketer partner with all of her clients and believes that is what makes her agency stand apart from others. She believes that people today are buying why you do what you do and not what. Shannon is also the co-host of her own podcast, Digital Marketing ROI, which I highly recommend you check out. Shannon, welcome to Simplify TV.
Thanks, David. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here as well. Now, Shannon, you mentioned in your intro that buying why you do what you do is important rather than the what. Could you elaborate on how this philosophy influences your approach to marketing strategy?
Absolutely. I'm a big Simon Sinek fan. So anybody that works for me, in a very original training, we have to watch the old school 2010, Finding Your Why video, which is one of my favorite from him. But it's really a philosophy I think a lot of business probably really are encouraged, that are doing it already. But we believe that when you find somebody who believes what you believe, the process is a lot easier. They don't always understand it, but they believe and understand that the reason we're doing what we're doing, the consumer journey, how everything's tied together, that's that true partnership. So that's what we're always looking for. And I think if you're an agency out there, your media company, those are the type of clients that you want to work with because, boy, it just makes everything a lot easier. The education can come, but they got to believe in it.
It reminds me of a story I often tell about my financial planner. He came into my life in a time when I had no understanding of, the stock market and Roth IRAs and all those things. But I just really bought into his passion for it. And I believed in him personally. And that is why I chose him. And we've been working together for 30 years now. So I totally get that concept of, helping the advertiser to understand that you get it. They don't have to totally get it, right? Is that kind of what?
100%. And even in that 2010 video, Simon Sinek talks about, the people that believe in what you do. And he talks about, Apple. He talks about the people that are really into Apple. They're buying it for them. They get so excited. They run out and buy the latest one. He talks about how that is so important to them. They don't have to do all the what behind it. The why is there. They just believe in Apple products. And if you're an iPhone buyer, you're not an Android person, right? Because you believe in one versus the other. It's not the what, it's the why.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's shift gears a little bit. What, in your opinion, constitutes the most common mistake that is made by marketers, and what steps should they take to course correct if they find themselves making this error?
So I think what the most common mistake that we are seeing some of our clients sometimes make, even in businesses, agencies and media companies, is that they are reactive and not proactive, right? So I would say for the last 2 years, kind of our slogan for my sales division and my campaign team is exactly that, is be prepared, be proactive with what we're doing. Don't be reactive to it. And really what I mean by that is we tend to pivot quickly, and that's good in digital, but you don't want to react to a situation that's happening. And the best example I can give is when a client, they're seeing numbers down, right? Something's not going right within that month, and they start to question the strategy that's sitting in front of them. What we can always do is layer in more strategy, but you don't want to just stop the strategy to fix one little problem. That is to me always the thing I have to tell everybody, like, just let's think this through. Let's not react to it, and let's really come up with a strategy behind it. So that would be my advice to any business owner out there, any agency that's, it's okay to tell your client, like, hold the phone. Like, let's walk this through. Let's make sure we're making the right decisions for your digital marketing plan.
I like that a lot. Do you have a favorite advertising story, like a success story, maybe something programmatic for our audience?
I have so many stories I could give. There's so many. I'm a huge, as you know, I'm a huge Simplify fan. I've been with you guys now since pretty much the very beginning of my career here. And so just always believing it, right? I always have believed in what we do from a programmatic standpoint. And even though we know it brings leads, I do categorize this under a branding category, right? Because through the funnel, and I go back to all the tactics that we utilize within Simplify, is there's all stages of that funnel, right? We have this scenario that we're starting here and we're coming down here. So I have a car dealer that I've been working with now for over 6 years, and they're probably my biggest success story. I mean, they started, they were working with dealer.com. I had met with them. I'd worked with them in my newspaper days. And after about a year and a half after I met with them originally, they were working with dealer.com. And I came back to see them because they called me and they said, we're ready to talk. There was a couple different reasons why they wanted to maybe move directions. But the biggest thing I can remember is they were doing almost all search engine marketing, right? The bulk of their budget went into SEM, which we see total value in, but they were not doing any branding. But he was a big traditional TV and radio at the time, mainly TV though. He's like, I've got my branding covered. And I had to really explain to him, with digital, it's not about branding as much who you are. We know who you are. You're doing a great job with traditional, but with branding, when it comes to digital and specifically programmatic, we are able to have more one-on-one conversations. So now we can move from their name and why you want to buy from them, which you can still do, but now we can move down to their products, right? We can look at each one of their brands, looking at a Subaru brand, looking at a Volkswagen brand, and go specifically find their top sellers. So like one of their top sellers is the Subaru Outback. I showed him how by utilizing branding, we can go find the Subaru buyer out there, not the buyer that wants to buy from him. He's already handled that with traditional, but we want to go find the Subaru buyer first and then make sure they come to him. So it was kind of an aha moment for him when he's like, I do need branding, because he always thought very, very upper funnel and only about what his name is. And yeah, that's a big part of what we do. But sometimes it's the layer we do after we show them the ROI. And that's what I love about that story is, like, I always want somebody to be running a campaign on why me. I wouldn't be a Simon Sinek fan if it wasn't about the why, right? But I still got to go out and find and bring him a return on investment on each one of his brands that he sells the most of and find new buyers for that. So he went from a 360 of only believing in SEM to now running with me for, over 7 years and growing his business by over 15% year after year. And now his spend levels with me, max out what you would see a big manufacturer maybe spending money on.
So what I kind of heard from that is like he was in the high funnel of awareness with TV and radio. Yes. And he was at the bottom of the funnel with SEM. But what you used programmatic for was to kind of get him in this middle upper funnel where it's like interest, because they've shown an interest in Subaru specifically.
Yes.
I think that is truly where programmatic plays a huge role that sometimes people miss. So I thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah, we really, from even day one, we talk about it in all our presentations, but it's about the consumer journey. So there's so much going on in the consumer journey before that decision is made that you're missing out if you're only hitting that traditional media of the awareness. I'm not saying don't run traditional. I think it's a partnership, but you have to mesh it all together like the perfect piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. All right, so this is the part of the podcast where I would normally ask you if you have a favorite podcast or book, but instead I'm actually going to assume the book is Simon Sinek, and I'm going to ask you to talk about your podcast, if that's okay. Tell us about ROY.
So this was really a brainstorm because we were doing, we do a lot of content marketing just to help with education, right? I see the value of our blogs just to help our clients understand digital can be such, it's such a broad topic that we really try to break it down within our blogs. Well, we were also doing a lot of webinars, and I am not a big fan of a webinar. If you meet me in person, and I'm doing it here, I talk with my hands. And if I have to go into a room in a webinar, shut the door and talk to a screen that I can only see myself in my notes, and I might have 30 people on that webinar, I'm not at my best. And so I really started to think about everybody's time, myself, when I'm looking at webinars, I struggle with that. But what I really love is listening to a good podcast. And, a good podcast to me can be anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. My true crime ones, I'll go a little longer, but from an education standpoint, I really took my webinars and some of my blogs and said, let's turn this into a 15 to 30-minute podcast. And I don't want to overwhelm it. We do it, we do the bigger, longer ones twice a month and very specific topics. And then we do what we call Tip Tuesdays, which are just quick little hints that come from all of my sales and campaign team and myself that are, 2 to 5 minute conversations of something that a business owner can think about. And everything has to bring it back to ROI, right? What's in it for me and why should I care? Which is actually what I wanted to call it. But my creative director wouldn't let me call it that. That's what I say to my sellers all the time. You have to ask yourself from a client's point of view, what's in it for me and why should I care?
I love that. I whiff them, right? What's in it for me?
Yep.
Awesome. This has been amazing. I really appreciate you. I hope everyone goes and checks out your podcast. Real quick, what is the best way for viewers to learn more about you?
Go to our website, federatedigitalsolutions.com. We've been around, for over 10 years now. To me, that's still a starter company, right? But we are a digital media agency only, but we're here to help our clients with all their needs. But really, I just love this part of my job, this education. So even if you're an agency out there that wants help, like we're all in this together, right? We're all doing this to try to grow our business.
Yes, we are. Shannon, thank you so much for being my guest today on Simplified TV.
Absolutely. Thanks, David. It was super fun to see you again and catch up a little bit.
Thank you. And thank you guys for watching. Simplify TV is sponsored, of course, by Simplify, helping you to maximize relevance and multiply results with our industry-leading media buying and workflow solutions. For more information, visit simply.fi. Thanks for joining us today. I'm David McBee. Be awesome, and we'll see you next time.